Don't go to Jamaica if you're black, unless you're ready for this. They sat down at the restaurant table to enjoy their oxtails, festival bread, and rice and peas. The beach breeze was perfect. The view? Postcard-worthy. But when the waitress returned, her face told a different story. A scowl, sharp, intentional, unmistakably irritated, rested on her lips. "Ma'am," Shanita asked gently, "can I just get a few more napkins?" That's it. No yelling, no attitude, no demands. And yet the Jamaican waitress's energy shifted to full-blown hostility. It was like jealousy oozed from her pores. The side-eye, the snark, the dismissiveness, it wasn't imagined. It was deliberate. Shanita didn't want to believe it. But she'd already seen the social media videos. Countless black travelers had shared similar stories about receiving colder treatment at certain Jamaican resorts and restaurants. The unsettling pattern? Tourists of lighter complexions were treated like royalty. Meanwhile, those with darker skin tones, especially black travelers from abroad, felt invisible, ignored, or even outright disrespected. So what's going on? The complicated reality of coming home. Jamaica holds global recognition for its black pride, resistance movements, and deep cultural influence. It's the birthplace of Bob Marley, Marcus Garvey, and countless artists, thinkers, and revolutionaries. It has long been romanticized as a spiritual return for people of African descent across the world. But despite its beauty, there's an uncomfortable reality that occasionally surfaces beneath the sun and sand. Some black tourists report being met not with open arms, but with subtle hostility, side-eyes, or underhanded comments. And the tension often isn't from locals in small villages or cultural centers. It shows up in high-traffic resort zones and hospitality spaces. It can be traced in part to deeply rooted issues that both Jamaica and the wider diaspora continue to grapple with: colorism, classism, and the psychological scars left behind by colonialism. Colorism in Jamaica is not subtle. Skin-bleaching creams are widely marketed, and lighter skin is often equated with beauty, status, and economic mobility. These colonial hangovers didn't disappear after independence. They evolved. So when a darker-skinned tourist from abroad enters the resort gates wearing gold chains, AirPods, and high-end clothing, tipping $20 without blinking, it can stir an unspoken reaction. Not necessarily because of the person's attitude, but because of what they represent. Meanwhile, a white tourist can leave a modest $5 tip and receive praise, gratitude, and endless smiles. This is not an exaggeration. It's a dynamic observed by many. It's not always about the money. It's about perception. In a nation where whiteness is still subconsciously equated with power, safety, and class, the presence of a successful black traveler from overseas can disrupt the internalized order. It challenges outdated but deeply embedded beliefs about who gets to have money, who gets to move freely, and who deserves admiration. A shared history, divided by oceans. Though separated by geography, both African Americans and Jamaicans come from the same wound: enslavement, exploitation, and colonial domination. Centuries ago, Africans were stolen from the continent and scattered across the Western world. Some were dropped off in the Caribbean, others were dropped off in what would become the United States. Different destinations, same trauma. African Americans endured nearly 400 years of systemic oppression in the United States. Slavery, lynchings, Jim Crow segregation, redlining, and mass incarceration marked their history. The success that many African American travelers enjoy today was not handed down. It was earned through survival, resistance, and relentless struggle under the weight of white supremacy. Meanwhile, Jamaicans also inherited the brutal legacy of colonization. British rule imposed rigid racial hierarchies that favored whiteness, stripped away indigenous names and languages, and created a deep psychological divide that still lingers. But when black tourists from wealthy nations arrive in Jamaica, fluent in American English, dressed in designer brands, traveling with ease, it can stir confusion, resentment, or unspoken frustration. There's often an assumption among locals that those black travelers must have had it easy, that they were born into wealth and opportunity. What's less known or acknowledged is the generational trauma behind that success. The difference in economic freedom between the two groups is real, but the history behind it is long, bloody, and bitter. To go or not to go? The answer is not to avoid Jamaica. Far from it. Jamaica remains one of the most culturally rich, musically gifted, and visually breathtaking places in the world. Many travelers of every background fall in love with the food, the music, the beaches, and the people. But just like any destination, it's important to travel with cultural awareness. Rudeness or cold service may not always be personal. It may be generational. It may be economic. It may be psychological. There are countless locals who are gracious, welcoming, and eager to share the island's heritage with visitors from around the globe. Many are proud to connect with Black travelers, and some even see them as long-lost cousins. But just like in any nation shaped by colonial trauma, not everyone processes that history the same way. Know before you go. Before traveling to Jamaica, it helps to keep a few things in mind. Travelers should be polite, but not overly performative. Kindness speaks louder than theatrics. Respect for the culture is essential, but it's important not to assume immediate connection just because of a shared skin tone or ancestral lineage. That bond may exist, but it doesn't always translate instantly on the surface. Avoid drawing comparisons between nations or lifestyles. Every society has its own struggles, scars, and victories. Finally, tip generously if you wish, but never use money to demand respect. Authentic respect is